ADHD reWired episode. This is the podcast for those of us with really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. I'm Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker by training and a coach by design. I'm your host, and I have ADHD. ADHD reWired is more than just a podcast. We are a community. We are wired for connection, and you are not alone. Go to ADHDrewired.com to learn how you can join us in our free and secret Facebook group. Get additional resources for every episode, including links to any resources we mention on today's show. You can support us on Patreon, sign up for our email newsletter. You can request podcast postcards to distribute to your clients and support groups. Learn all about our award-winning coaching and accountability groups. You can co-work with us in our Adult Study Hall virtual membership community. You can do all of these things by going to our website at ADHDrewired.com. We know that starting is the hardest part, so let's get started.
All right, for YouTube. Well, welcome back to another episode of ADHD reWired. We have a special podcast episode here for you today. We are recording this on Friday, March 24th. As you hear, I have a bit of a cold, but I am joined here by coaches Kristen Martz and Kat Hoyer. Hello, hello.
Hello. Hello.
So we're recording this right now. We are 1 week away from the start of our 32nd season of coaching groups. Right now, we still have some open spots available. And one of the things that we would love to be able to do for you, the listener, is for you to get maybe a better insight or get to know our coaches here. Because I know that a lot of people who have signed up for my section, as my section is filled up pretty quickly. But I want you to know who Kat and Kristen are as well. So I'm going to start with Kristen, partially because Kat's been on the podcast, I don't know, 5 times. Kristen, I keep forgetting, hasn't actually been a guest other than the Q&As on the podcast. And I keep saying, what? How does that happen? So here's our first attempt at that. But there will be a solo cast with Kristen coming. It will be coming soon. So Kristen, when you were looking for support on your ADHD, because you were first a member of the group.
Yep. And a minor correction, I did do a coaching podcast for our friend Janelle. So I did get to be on it for that, which was awesome. So I'm very excited now to be on more as a guest this time. So yeah, that's really fun. So, okay. So me and my ADHD, I am musical theater, dance by trade, by birth, basically. And
she came out dancing.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I don't even remember my first dance class. My mom says, so I'll be 54 in May. So yeah, it's a half century. My mom said about when I was 2, Sesame Street was on and the ballet section would come on, and it'd come on Mr. Rogers also. And I would just go crazy. So she begged a woman to take me into her class. And the woman was like, well, she has to be potty trained. She can't come. And my mom was like, oh, she's potty trained. I promise. My feet were so tiny, she had to order ballet shoes from New York because back then it's not like it is now where you can just go to a street shop and find your shoes. So that happened. And that's what I did all my life. Everything, the ADHD was not recognized in me, I'm sure for a number of reasons, but one in particular was that all my hyperactivity and impulsivity would be contributed or rationalized by, oh, she just loves to dance. She just is thinking about dance. Dance. I'd go leaping across grocery store aisles. Luckily I didn't land in somebody's grocery cart or knock them over.
I've been to the grocery store with Kristen, and I can attest to this.
That's true. Because, grocery stores have music going the whole time. So, and that thought just occurred to me because I can dance with nothing, but when music's on, I can't stop. I'm just always moving. So that makes a lot of sense. Probably depended on which song came on. So fast forward, I did get into musicals in high school and was really excited. And then I got into choreography, and my dance teacher recognized, something in me and knew I loved to be an educator. And so she made me a teacher in high school, and that's all I kept doing. I went to school and worked toward a degree because, like many of us, I dropped out before I was finished, got married, had a couple kids, beautiful girls, who it turns out has special needs, both of them. And I remained a teacher. I even had my own studio for a couple of years. And in the midst of that and trying to get it to really push through year 3, I discovered I was pregnant again. At the same time, my older daughter was diagnosed with autism, and it's a severe form, no nonverbal. And so there was a lot going on. And one of my childhood teachers welcomed me and my 35, 40 students into her studio. And so I became an active teacher with her, which was awesome because it allowed me the time frame that is, it allowed me to be with my girls and go to their school events, because I kind of was robbed of that as when they were very, very young. They didn't get to stay home with me because they needed to be integrated and they needed to go to therapies. So that was, it was hard financially that way, but I wouldn't trade that for anything. What happened is I discovered I'm a really, really good advocate. I ended up, like a lot of us do who have children with special needs, divorced, but I have remarried and he's amazing. And my ex has a longtime partner. And I always say my girls have 4 parents, which helped allow me to be more of an advocate. So I figured out, oh man, I want to go back to school. Okay. So I'm being very successful in the dance world, teaching dance. I go to school. I'm successful at school. And I was determined I'd finish the degree and then got into the master's program for social work to align with these things I've been learning, and understanding that social work is a very open range of things. And it has really allowed me to utilize and integrate all my theater and dance skills in community work. So I'm there. And even in my very first class, we did a termination session. We awarded students, we got in groups and we awarded the students different awards. They awarded me most organized. No. I'm like, what? What? So ask me why, Eric. Why did they award me that?
Kristen, why did they award you that?
Because I am a freaking hoarder of pens and pencils, and I brought more than 20 every class, and someone inevitably every class would go, oh, wait, I don't have a pen. Oh, I got one here. Or they go, Kristen's got some. And I promise you that is why they gave me that, because I always look on the outset organized because I get everything I need. But once the papers start getting written, once the notes start going, a journal, a notebook for notes will get left at home. So then I have a second one because remember, I have extras because I've left the other one. That's what I'm used to, is I am used to forgetting things. So I would bring more than enough. That makes me look organized. No, that's just the hoarder in my backpack, because I knew I would forget to bring the notebook full of notes, and I still need to take notes. So I'd get out the clean notebook and I would lose where all the notes in the order. Not knowing this yet, anything about my ADHD, not having any clue. And so I also spent a lot of nights, and I would blame this on, I was still teaching through those 2 years in the master's program. I would blame having to teach dance on the idea where that urgency where we wait till the 11th hour to get something done. All my papers were written that way. Every one of them. Not that I didn't do some of the research preemptively, but I would do research because I am a collector, again, a hoarder, and I'm a hoarder of almost anything, it feels like. Because I remember I would research and I'd have all these gatherings and I would not have any organization to it. They're talking about me being most organized. No, I just had all these notes, and they would be on Post-its, they would be on index cards, they would be in the computer. They were everywhere. They weren't in any sort of order, so that when I sat down to write, I knew how to just sort of put it all together. No, it's not organization. It's just hoarding is what it is. So, and I am very proud to say that I made straight A's, and here's how I would receive A's on things like really important research papers. I'd get it back. It would be an A, and it would have lots of information in the comments section. I thought it was a pity A. I would sit there crying because I thought all of those should be dings toward my grade. And my husband, who is a magnificent writer, it's one of his best skills, he just looked at me and go, no, that's what professors do. They continue to teach you to grow. And I'm like, no, it's a pity. Hey, they just like me, you know. So again, another sign of ADHD that I had no clue. So we can fast forward a bit. I become a child therapist more than anything else. I love working with kids. And what do I love the best? The first job out of the gate was at a long-term residential center where it is code oranges all day long, kids running away, kids throwing fit, hitting people. How many of us love the crisis moment? Yep, there you go. Again, another sign. Had no clue. That job I got fired from. I got a warning because I wasn't getting notes. It was just 1 or 2 notes not getting done. And so after I had a warning, I missed a note by accident. This goes into carelessness, not putting off, because it was an hour and 15 minutes away from my home. So I worked 4 10-hour days. So I would just do the notes before I come home at that point. And I missed one and they fired me over it. And I was like, and I was mortified. This will be the first time I'm really sharing it publicly because I thought it was all about me and that I suck because I was trying so hard. And it wasn't one of those things where I put it off and I go, oh, it could be coming. I could get caught. It was, I had no clue. I missed it. Yeah. So again, that's real organized, right? No. So I go to domestic violence shelter and work nonprofit. I'm not able to work towards my certification at that point because it's a fairly inexpensive job. We don't get we don't get a lot of money and we have to pay for all of our additional training. Got a lot out of that, but was missing kids. Somebody recognized me at a training. She hires me over there. It was heaven for me. I loved working in the schools. There's a lot of crisis management. I get to see the kids grow more because a lot of therapists, we don't get the outcome perspectives. So that was amazing. And I got to utilize all this art and theater. I would go work with the after school kids and we put together Christmas shows that was held at the school because it was part of their school. It was so much fun. I mean, I'm almost in tears thinking about it because I was getting to be creative again. And that was amazing. However, guess what? I was told I was being dismissed and I said, no, I want to quit because I couldn't get my notes in on time again. And it wasn't that I wasn't doing them. It was that I would attend to all these crises and I would still have to go see all my kids, meet the quota. So I was working all the time. I wasn't going to homes there because that was a too dangerous neighborhood, but I would stay at the school as late as I could. I'd be the last one out the door with like the principal or the vice principal every day. And we did groups in the summer and had big summer programs, which was amazingly fun. That was a little easier. I have to give credit to all my coworkers back then because while the kids would do part of their day of like watching a movie, they were having their rec time. My coworkers would cover for me so I could go sit in a room and start my notes and get them done because they started seeing. Sorry, I'm going to get teary now because I've never really been able to thank them like this. But because they could see, they would be doing the same amount of notes and they could see I would stay later sitting there while the vans were taking the kids home where they got all theirs done and it was taking me longer. And everybody just kept telling me, quit writing such long notes. So when I tried that was too hard too, to tell my brain to change what it was doing. That actually took longer. And they didn't realize that. Again, not understanding that I had ADHD. However, before I went through the whole thing of getting fired, one of my coworkers, she goes, God, Kristen, go take your pill. And I went, what? What are you talking about? Oh, don't you have ADHD? And I went, what? I'm sitting here being a therapist with kids with ADHD. I did not realize how different it looked for grownups. Yeah, see, I feel like I'm talking to kids again. Grownups, adults. And the other thing that was happening simultaneously is my son, I think he did 11 different schools before we could find him one that really fit him, which was a Montessori one. And that same year that this started coming up for me, like where my coworker said this, he got into high school, and it's Central High, which is a lot of people know about the Central High story in Little Rock. So it's a very known school, and it's a very, very good school. We don't have a really great Montessori program for into high school. So he wanted to go there because he could get, the AP. He's a really studious kid, loves working. He started having struggles getting his stuff done. And he also didn't want to do the things that didn't matter. He's like, that's busy work. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing that. That kid would come home from school, and at like 4:30, or if he didn't have tennis, he ended up having to drop because he couldn't get better at it, because he couldn't focus on it, because he didn't have enough time in the day to do it and get all his schoolwork done. The kid was up till midnight every day, and he wasn't messing around because he likes learning, and he was struggling. We took him, this will be a really interesting piece, is that we took him to the doctor, and the doctor said, yeah, no, I think this is ADHD. Gave him some meds. We did a 504 on him. The staff there, one of them was sitting there going, this boy has almost all A's, and he's in like whatever you call them, AP classes. Why is he in here? And I go, because it's not a level playing field. This isn't right. This kid studies all the time. He's probably about to give up on his tennis, And we did that, and that was very helpful. It was still a struggle just because you get those modifications. If some of you who are adults were diagnosed in high school and junior high, the modifications help, but they really don't address the core of what's going on. And that's the piece that we do in our program here, is we get to the core of what's going on and how it relates to you. So that I find that very interesting, the connections I'm making as the history of my connection and being part of this ADHD rewired is doing for me. So
Chris, let me jump in real quick, because I just saw the message from Kat in the chat, who a couple minutes ago said, I don't want to do this, but I have to leave in 7 minutes for an eye doctor appointment.
and I know I'm storytelling, but he asked me to.
I know, and I was like, I don't want to do this because I don't. But it's like I have eye issues that I have to get checked out.
So, Kat, what's your ADHD rewired story in 2 minutes? Go.
Well, mine's to be continued.
Here's the cool thing: if you go to episode 175, that is me right after I got out of group, and it's the Like Brains one. And then if you move down to 191, that is one with Brendan and Cassandra, who, I know. Eric, like Cassandra, I'm like, every time I say her name, I'm just like, oh, yeah, she was one of my original A-team partners. And then episode 399, I Googled this while you were talking, Kristen, but I was listening, I promise. 399 is about workplace accommodations, because I am a recovering HR manager. And then 413 is the entire story of from ARC to ADHD rewired coach. And then episode 469 and 470 is when Kristen and I and Eric, Janelle was on the hot seat, and we were talking to Janelle. So those are all of the episodes of me. That was
a brilliant way to plug all of that in, Kat.
All in. It's got all of it. Like,
talk about bottom lining.
For real, right? So if you are been like, all right, I've been thinking about this coaching group, but I don't know who the hell Kat is. You can get a couple hours of who the hell Kat is.
Yes, and you get to see what a goofball I am, and hot mess and killing it at the same time.
So we don't want to make you late for your eye appointment.
Yeah, I do. There's some. It's
If you look at the our spring schedule, and if the times that Kat's groups are running, if those work better for you, and you're like, well, I want to know who this person is. And we'll link all those other episodes in the show notes. But her sections are at she had 2 of them, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. The first one is at 6 a.m. Pacific, that's 9 Eastern, and the second one is at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 Eastern. So if those are the times that work for you, and you want to learn more about Kat, you got the episodes there. Just go to the website and look for those episodes. And we'll link it in the show notes. So, Kat, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I can plug Kat. Kat is a coach who will really get to know who you are. She does fabulous questions and is a fabulous cheerleader and support. She gets the support you need, but can ask the questions around it to help you find it, to discover it, which is the ideal way of coaching, is instead of being told what you need, is getting you there. And that is something she's really good at.
Well, thank you, Kristen.
Kat, do you have like an ultra pithy final thought to leave with?
You know, I think at the end of the day, kind of to piggyback on what Kristen said, I love people, not necessarily being around them, but I love people. I have like social anxiety, but anyway, my goal has always been to hold space for people to see themselves through my eyes and how amazing they are, because I think that was my first experience in ARC, was like realizing like, oh my gosh, these people that I'm in group with, you know, as a member, I was like, they're amazing. And then I was like, wait, does that mean I'm amazing too? So like to be able to hold space for people to kind of see how awesome they are has been just when people start seeing themselves through that lens, and they start celebrating, like even Kristen, with you saying what you were saying about the pens, and that's just a hoarder, that's not organized. I'm like, who says that's not organized? By whose terms? I think it sounds very organized. You're bringing pens. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, why? Whose definition? You know, so that's where I like for people to challenge how they are defining what they're defining in their lives.
Awesome. So come meet Kat. We're doing our extra time final registration event on Monday, March 27th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern. So come meet Kat, and Kat, have a good eye appointment, and we'll see you later.
Nice.
So see how your eyes are. I was looking on one too. His is better.
All right. And on that note, let me get like all prepped so I could do this whole thing, and the end.
That's a very famous Cat. She knows how to like stop and say, that's I'm done.
Yes. All right. So where you left off was...
It was the place around my son got diagnosed. So here's the biggest piece of this next part is that my husband and I wasn't struggling as much, but he was struggling a little bit with the idea that his son had ADHD, not in rejecting it or anything, but needing to understand more about it. Because like most people out there who aren't in the clinical field, they think ADHD is like this hyperactivity thing. And we kept saying, but when he was little, his first grade teacher, Ramsey's first grade teacher, my son, she showed us a pencil that he had practically eaten and said that he doesn't finish his handwriting. He's so perfectionistic and he's having trouble getting his stuff done, but it's all straight A's. He's brilliant. But I think he's ADHD. And we were like, what are you talking? That is insane. This was before I was in school, even though we were like, the kid reads all weekend. That's not ADHD, because we were thinking hyper. Yet he was, now that we understand it better, we would reflect back. He's also the young boy from ages 3 to probably about 7 or 8 would come home with holes in the knees of his practically brand new pants because he'd be on the floor spinning on his knees, like breakdancing almost, even though he wasn't trying to breakdance. And he was constantly up on anything that was like a balance beam type thing, but maybe tilted and stuff, trying to balance. One day I walked down the hallway, not looking up at first, because his sister could do this too, who also has ADHD. He has taken his hands and arms. He'd grown big enough to get on both, to reach across the hallway and put his both hands on the opposite wall and his feet. And he crawled up like Spider-Man. And he's up there waiting for me. And I'm like, didn't even notice it first. And it scared me to death.
He was like up on the ceiling.
Yes. She could do it too. I think she probably taught him.
You often hear that expression of kids like my kids like climbing up the walls, like climbing up the ceiling. Like, yep. Literally, he was
literally. And then she did it and showed me. Yeah, I showed him how to do it. I was like, oh my gosh. And what's funny is when I think of that, I think of the climbs all over things, looks like no fear. The reason his flipped on us is he has some social anxiety. He grew up with two sisters who have a lot of special needs where there were violence of them having dysregulation. And so my daughter, who can't talk, would attack sometimes out of trying to communicate, not knowing any better. And we were training that. But they were both younger than my older daughter. And that's really challenging. And that tends to develop that anxiety around that in particular. And then just we've learned with ADHD, anxiety is often just a friend that comes along for the ride.
So when was it that you actually realized, like, oh, wait,
that's what happened. That's what happened is, again, at that job where I was flourishing, where I was told your notes are the best, you're not getting them done on time, where I was having a lot of the rejection sensitivity because she had a right arm guy, and he was pretty much kind of mean, and everybody started recognizing he was kind of mean to me. There were certain people he'd pick on, and I lost it. This is the part that I did, though, that was hard. My husband and I have the greatest relationship. Yeah, we can disagree. He has noted that he gets mad and it resolves and he's done. He said, but you get mad or you get upset and it stays with you. So he has recognized that difference in how we know it's ADHD now. I was mortified because I saw his little bit of resistance around Ramsey's, but, embracing it and helping him and all that. And he was frustrated because he doesn't think like us. And so he couldn't figure out how to help Ramsey. Ramsey couldn't get ready in the morning. So I took my daughter, who could help report things from, not the person sitting in the chair, but from that observers. And I was in tears. And my doctor, I've been seeing him for so long, and he's helped me through depression and anxiety and through being a mom to these girls. And he goes, okay. And he loves questionnaires. He always has questionnaires every time he come in. So he handed me the questionnaire, and I'm sitting there with my daughter, and I'm like, I don't know where to start. She goes, just answer the questions. I couldn't even go in order. I had stuff written out the side. I couldn't finish it before he comes in. And he just grabbed it, looked at it. I go, I didn't really fit. He goes, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm going to read it. However, just looking at this and how you skipped questions and I'm flipping it over, you've written, put an arrow to go. He goes, this is ADHD. So he did start me. I got started on medication that worked magically immediately. I did not turn into the housewife who cleans everywhere. So obviously it was just filling the cup that was empty in my brain of the juices I needed. Side note, the funny thing is this doctor, probably 3 or 4 years later, because every time I would come in, I would talk about ADHD because I'd learned a little more and learned a little more and learned a little more. He came into me, he goes, I need to talk to you. I think I might have ADHD, because he started reading and I started sending him podcasts, and he does. It was wow. Really interesting, that piece. Yeah.
And what's amazing about that is that that's actually not that uncommon. I've been hearing more and more of people who are professionally in the ADHD space who, start in the space, they don't have ADHD, but, they have a family member and they understand it and blah, blah, blah. And they realize, so that is interesting.
Yeah. And I think that comes from not having no awareness. I think it comes from, we keep learning more because what's in the diagnostic manual is not all it is. Those are just the things that are measurable that we can identify. Things like the fear of rejection. We look at that kind of as a correlative. How do you say that? Correlation. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, it comes along for a lot of us. And it's such a big component that you kind of take it into account.
It's interesting. I've been recently, and we've kind of briefly talked about this, but I've been wondering, am I going to have the same experience around autism? Because I've been working with autism for so long, and I'm like, no, it's I've always related to a lot of the features and symptoms, and I think it was actually something that my girlfriend said to me around. We're talking about mental flexibility. And then she just, your morning routine. And I was like, which I'm totally perfectly flexible as long as it goes exactly and precisely the way I wanted it to go, which includes exactly precisely how you actually cut the fruit that you put in Oh, Neil.
Mm-hmm. Yep, ditto, and that's all I'm gonna say right now. It's a hard one to swallow, especially when you have a child who is diagnosed with it. It makes it a little harder to swallow.
Well, and
I think.
Gibson even asked me recently, he's like, "Are you sure you don't have autism?"
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I mean, not 100% sure, but maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can talk more about this, I think, maybe on another episode.
Yeah. So let me share. So I got diagnosed with it, moved on in that job, have a new job. I had a coworker tell me about your podcast. You know, I'd started working in therapy, knowing I had kind of a starting point. And she turned me on to your podcast. She goes, "Oh my gosh, you got to hear this one thing question." And I go, "What?" I'm just sitting in her office because she is a younger therapist than I am, in the sense of I've been doing it longer. And she is younger, but she was like, "Yeah, this one thing question." She was telling me about it. I go, "Okay, wait a minute, repeat that, write that down. That sounds really cool." And I go, "Where'd you get it?" And I think I went away and started playing around with it. And then I go back to her, go, "Where'd you get this?" And she would send me things going, "Oh my gosh, I just heard on this podcast this." She goes, "I swear we are definitely ADHD." Even though I was taking medicine, it's still, you still kind of sit in disbelief sometimes if you don't have all the things you do, titled, it's under the umbrella of ADHD. You just don't realize it. She's so funny. So when she turned me onto it, I was like, listen to the one she sent me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go back to the beginning. I want to hear what this is all about. So I've been sitting there listening to you. And one of the big things that I caught, and that may have been for the episode she sent me, was clean your therapy. Mirror. I call it mirror and sand tray therapy. We talk about cleaning our own mirror so that we can help, do the therapy itself and be that role model and reflect back to the person. And if our
is it kind of like
murky,
as a therapist or even as a coach, you got to kind of work through your own shit so you can help others with theirs.
Exactly, because it was clouding our mirrors. Yeah, thank you. Yes, you're better at articulating than me. So I was already doing that, and I kept listening. I gotta go to this thing. I gotta do this coaching. And I even started teasing Jessica. I was like, I'd listen to more and I'd show up and I go, "Oh my gosh, what Eric talked about today. I want to be Eric when I grow up." I go, "Jessica, that's what I want to do. I want to be Eric when I grow up." I kept jokingly saying that. And I remember you making a comment one time to that. It didn't mean that I wanted to be somebody else. Anytime I've been asked if I could trade places with anybody, I'm always like, "No, I like me. No. I just want to be me." Maybe there's a hint of perfectionism in there. Like if I'm going to be somebody else, I have to be them exactly. But no, it was the idea that I wanted to be able to do what you do. And that was just kind of my shorthand phrase around it, because I thought this is so cool. And I would hear the stories. What are they called? At the end of your podcast, testimonials. And I would be like, "Oh my gosh, they're saying those things that I struggled with and now they're doing better." So I spent a year and a half from about that point doing the therapy work. COVID hit. I was getting fired again, even though I think I was sabotaging myself at that point. I was so done. Feeling incompetent, feeling imperfect for them. I had recently asked a question in our, meeting at work. I asked there's a manager of the site, and then there was the clinical director. The clinical director had given us a directive, and our manager had given us directive, and both of them had a deadline, and they were basically a simultaneous deadline. So I was the one who in the room could always ask, not knowing it was like an elephant in the room, because I don't realize that, not pay attention. I would always say things and people go, "Oh, yeah, oh, she said it. Thank goodness. I want to know what the answer is to this," but I would have never said it because I can't read I just don't understand the business part. Pecking order, I guess I get pecking order, but
the
that idea piece. Of the politics, yeah, I think so.
That's why I got fired from my internship in grad school. Is I didn't read the politics right.
Yeah, I don't even think I try to read them. I just think I'm here. You're my boss to help me do the best job I can do, and I see it that way. I don't see it as, "Oh, you're here to keep me in line because you're the liaison between the head guy and us." And that's what I've since kind of learned. And I don't even know if that's exactly correct. But I asked the question, I go, "So both of these are high priority. Which one is higher priority? Which one do I do your task first or her task first? He literally looked at me and goes, yes. And I was seriously asking. I mean, it almost put me in tears because I got pissed because I was like, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, go ahead. I'm trying not to say his name. I was like, yeah, that's funny. No, seriously. And he goes, yes. And I looked around the room and they all just were shaking their heads, rolling their eyes, going, oh, that's what he means. He means yes. He's not going to give you an answer because he's going to want to say, this is what I've learned since. He's going to want to say, do the thing I told you to do so I don't get in trouble. Yet I'll probably have to fire you if you don't do the thing she tells you to do first. To see what I mean? It was like, I figured it out.
It sounds like you were like just set up for success.
Oh yeah. That's really a real thing for therapists. I don't, maybe it's a thing for other professions and stuff, but for therapists, because I've been through enough of these job changes that in agency work, even in the other one was a nonprofit. It didn't matter. It's all about the next person up is covering their own ass.
Yeah.
And they overload you. At that point, I had over 90 clients.
Oh, wow.
How does that work? Because if I'm doing quality assessment, most of these kids, because they were school and private, most of these kids need more than once a week even. So, yeah. So side note, I'm still working on bottom lining everyone out there because I still have ADHD, even though I joined the coaching groups in season 24. I told my friend I want to be Eric when I grow up, but I was being also very serious in that I want to understand ADHD more because that's what I understood you did. You helped yourself figure it out and put yourself in a place that felt good. And so I worked for a year and a half before joining. I did not quit therapy. I still continuously go to therapy, and I'm teaching my therapist more about ADHD, having gone through these coaching programs. Season 24 was about 2 springs ago. And I had a wonderful admin, Brian Entler, and funnily enough, I had Katie, and I can't think of her last name. And but what was funny is at the grad party, I found out she parodies too. So I thought that was really kind of a funny notice when I was thinking back through this history. I was like, yeah, Katie's the one who inspired me at the party to sing mine. So I go through the program. I don't have words. I can't even think of the words. We were still in lockdown. However, it wasn't the first year because the first year I did a lot of trainings online. So I'd gotten used to the online. So I felt competent at that, and that felt good. I was nervous. I remember talking to you saying, hey, I don't know if I should be in this person's group because I'm afraid I'm going to therapize that person. And you immediately challenged me, and it freaked me out. You were like, and does that mean that could be a good match for you? And I was like, oh, no, don't do that to me. And I started noticing I've always been a perfectionist as a child and had the rigid thinking. And I thought it came a lot from ADHD and being a kind of a paternalized kid, somewhat on myself because my mom had medical issues and my dad was kind of a workaholic. Undiagnosed ADHD, definitely, because I don't think he liked work. I think workaholics like work. So learning lots of more about my family as I go through this. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is all of us. It was amazing. I still have contact with 2 of my A team members. We did have to fade out once I became a coach because some of my meetings got in the way, and I was able to regroup with a specific A team called the Solopreneurs team. That was from just reaching out on the mighty network that we remain in the community because community is so important for maintenance of what we do. I just learned so many things. I just can't believe it. And you said the Pomodoro dance party's coming up. I injured my knee. I bet a lot of people might know this story already. And I checked out, and Brian is the one who contacted me. I mean, I went MIA. I even got some level of agoraphobia for a little while there because we were still somewhat in lockdown, and I was only going to PT, and I wouldn't get on the Zoom. I didn't realize how much I was using that as social fill up for me because I'm an extrovert and need that to charge. So he contacted me and he said, didn't you say you wanted to be an admin? How are you feeling? Come on, come do this. And I was like, you know what? That's one of those purpose things. That's one thing that gets me to parties is if I have a purpose at the party or the party has a purpose, I'll go. Otherwise I don't care for chit chat. And I showed up. I started admin with MJ, which was awesome. She is clearly one of my best buddies. I just adore her. And I've watched her grow and she's watched me grow. And so I did 2 seasons. That third season, you said, "Hey, oh, that's right. You had said something in one of the channels or Telegram or something about putting out an ad in your top 3 for a job fill, and I thought it was for a coach." And I like texted you. I'm shameless. I was like, "Oh, are you hiring coaches? I'm really, really interested." And you go, "No, that's for something else, but I'll keep you in mind." So by third season, you said, "Hey, what about coming on as a coach, possibly in the summer? Can you look at being an admin this summer and look at that through that perspective and, start taking notes and asking questions around that stuff?" It's like, "Yeah, great." 5 days before it started, you call me up, you go, I, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, you said, "Can you start sooner?" I was like, "What do you mean?" "I need a coach in 5 days." And I jumped on and did it. And I've been having fun doing it. It was kind of hard because it was not the preparation. You talked about flexibility of our mindset. I had to get flexible real fast, but it also felt like putting out a fire, which was awesome to get to be part of that.
You did do amazing, like jumping in the way that you did. It was pretty incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I got to really recognize that as one of my strengths. I think that is one of the most important things, is being able to flesh out through these programs what we think of as an oddity in a different world that can be a distraction or detract from things that's out in like this neurotypical thinking world. We can recognize it and go, "Hey, how can I make it healthy and it be a strength?"
Do you think that excellence is like one of your core values?
Oh, heck yeah.
Because just observing like the way you approach, I don't think you probably watched more of your own coaching sessions. And I really highly value sort of watching coaching sessions, because it's a way to get better at what you do when you see yourself when you're not actually doing it, but you're watching yourself do it. And like, I think like you were watching every single session, like I think some of them more than once.
Yes.
Which I was amazed by. And
I think that's that strength idea that I lean into. I didn't, a lot of actors and performers have trouble watching themselves. I never have. I grew up in front of a mirror as a dancer. So I am used to looking at myself and assessing, and not, it is judgment, but it's always been assessing for how does it look? And I think that creates a flexibility mindset for myself. And so I knew that that's the best way for me to learn. So that's why I started playing those. So see, I leaned into something that could be detrimental to me, because if I sit back long enough and don't look for assessment, I can start judging myself and going, "Oh, I look awful. Oh, I need to lose weight. Oh, why did I do it that way?" I have to intentionally look at it and go, "What am I learning from this?" So there's still intention behind it. It's not like some superpower. There's still work behind it. So I think I borrowed from that. So I appreciate you saying that.
So it's been awesome watching you grow as well, and just kind of coming into your own and seeing just more confidence in kind of what you're doing and asking really, really, really good questions. We have in your fourth section, because you're doing sections 4 and 5. It's like 5 spots left, and that is at that's Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Your section 5 is full. What would be like one thing as far as a takeaway if listeners right now are like, I've been watching this program for a while. Okay, I think I maybe have a better idea now about like who Kristen is. What do you think is what's your unique, I guess, value
in theater
proposition?
Theater we call it what's our shtick.
All right, I'll go with that one. What's your shtick?
Yeah, I kind of think of it as what's my shtick. I think one of the things, kind of like Kat had summarized what she wants people to see them through her eyes. And I'm still learning and understanding what it is, because it's not the same bend as a therapist. Therapists follow the coattail or the kite tail of the client totally. I think for me, one thing I lean into is helping and I think it's a quality of being a therapist, is I want to know who they are, and knowing who they are, how can they take these basic skills and craft them, mold them, shape them into something that speaks to them better? because that's the hardest thing for us. We can learn all the skills in the world, and in the moment, in the middle of the tornado, we can't remember how to find shelter. And we also aren't going to remember, pick up my notebook or my toolbox and look in it in that moment. We have to have something that speaks to our personality, speaks to how we think. So I'm going to have, for me, I love baseball. I love Cardinals. I love Star Trek. I love Peanuts, Lucy, Charlie Brown. Those are things I love music. Those are things I'm going to lean into to craft these skills into something that makes me go, oh, hey, that's that. I remember that now because it's part of who I am.
You're a connector. You definitely connect ideas, and
that is my core value. I discovered through one of the alum planning, the yearly planning. I love that exercise, and I think that is a very strong. I think also I'm going to bring to the table having you lean into understanding what your learning style is also, because I think that's really important. Because I think if you start to understand that more, it's easier to craft how you learn those things too.
Kristen Martz, thank you so much for doing this. So just want one more final reminder. You can still join our spring coaching groups. That starts on Friday, March 30th. Is that the 30th?
Thursday.
Yep. Thank you. Thursday, March 30th.
I see the dates in front of my mind.
Oh my God.
Thank you. This was so much fun. I'm sorry.
Awesome.
I felt like I hijacked it from Kat.
Nope. This was great.
But I loved it. It was so much fun.
And we hope to see you at our next registration event, and reach out to us, coachingrewired.com. And Kristen, I look forward to having you on again, and looking forward to seeing what you're putting out here. And that's that
podcast is coming.
It's coming. I know it.
It's almost here. It really is. I'm super excited about it. So
all right. Fun. And to borrow the words from our other coach, Kat Hoyer. And what did you say? And done? No, I just forgot what she says.
No, she says the end.
The end. Okay, and there it is. And the end. It's coachingrewired.com. Sign up on the interest list so you can get those emails that will be automatically sent to you once you confirm your email address. That will tell you what you need to do so you can join us. And we would love to have you starting this spring. It's coachingrewired.com. Thanks so much.